All right, so we got another game to talk about here, and this is Stranger Things Attack of the Mind Flayer. Now, we have played this game probably 7 or 8 times now. I'd say almost 10 times we've played this game now, and we've played it with a wide variety of different you know amounts of people. We originally played it with 4 people. Then we played it with 5 people. Then we played it with like 9 people. Then we played it with 8 people. So we do have a very good idea of like what's the best number. Now this game is between 4 to 10 players. It says that the target audience is 10 plus. I think that's fair-ish. Our daughters are 9. Yeah. And they are totally fine. Totally got the game. No problem. So, yeah. I think 10's fairish. But I think if you have kids that are just a little under that and they're really into Stranger Things like my kids are, yeah, they'll get it. It's a pretty simplistic game. And so out the gate reaction when it came to our very first time playing. Like, if I was to review it, if we were to review it, the first time we played it with 4 people, I thought it was stupid. I was not into it at all, and I was like, no. Right?
Yeah, it was not uber impressive with the small amount of people.
Yes.
Yeah, the first time.
So then we played it a couple times like that, and I was just like, this is a dumb game. Like, I didn't understand the point of certain things, and I was just like, I think this is just a half-baked idea that they slapped a Stranger Things logo on to sell. Right? Then we played it with 5 people. Her mother came over and joined us. And that definitely was funner. More fun for the grammatical people.
More fun.
More fun.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, that was all right. That was better. That was better. I actually didn't hate it that time. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Then we played it with like 9 people. One of those people being my father. And let me tell you, my father is wonderful. But he just does not seem to retain board game or card game, because this isn't a board game. This is a card game.
It is a card game.
He does not seem to retain the rules of games very well, to say the least.
There's tons of people like that, though, and there's definitely been times where we've had a board game and like I'll read the instructions and you're sitting there like, I don't understand what you're saying, but I get it. And vice versa, right? So
this is honestly one of the more simplistic games.
It is, but sometimes you have to kind of like do a combination of like reading the instructions yourself, having the instructions read to you, and then also playing the game for rules to kind of sink in. But this is a very, very simple game.
Okay, I will say though, okay, I'll say this. When it comes to, like, the father versus me argument of, like, well, you know, because I know you're trying to defend my father and other people who don't get it.
No, I'm just...
Like, I get it. But typically, in the past, when we haven't understood games and you're like, I think I get it. You think you get it, right? Like, and you're explaining it to me thinking you might get it. We've played this game enough now where I'm 100% positive on how to play it.
Yes.
And so I sat with my father and I explained this game to him very thoroughly about 10 times as we played it, because I played it with him about 4 times, and he screwed up every single time that we played. It became a joke, and it will be a joke from now on in the family, and it's funny, and it's a great memory, and it always will be. So I'm kind of glad he was messing up, because it is super funny, but this was getting explained to him like one-on-one, like tutoring with someone who truly understands every aspect of the game now. Yeah. And I did this so many times, and after we'd played multiple times, and everyone at the table but him got it. So it's just, it just don't stick.
Yeah,
it just don't stick. And there's always going to be people like that.
Yes, and it's also, I think, when it's like a franchise game where there's like specific words that are like, for example, like Mind Flayer and Possessed or whatever, and they like, people, I don't know, people can get confused by those for sure.
Sure.
Like they get kind of caught up on the terminology and they're like, what the heck is that?
So now, this is a Stranger Things game, right? And that's the franchise they decided to attach these mechanics to. Mm-hmm. But what film would this serve better as when it comes to how it is played and what happens in it, do you think?
The Thing.
The Thing.
For sure.
This would have been a really kick-ass Thing game.
Yes.
Because essentially that's what this is. So for fans of The Thing, now if you want a Thing board game, it already exists.
It does.
Okay, so, and that just so happens to be sitting next to me. I was not prepared for that. This is spontaneous, but I have all my board games sitting right, well, not all of them, but a good amount of the horror ones sitting right here. But this does act kind of like The Thing. So essentially here's how the game works out really quick. You have your Mind Flayer card. You have your memory card, if there's any. Here's the memory card. You have your helping hand card, and you have your hard hit card. There is a waffle card as well. It serves some purpose, but mostly in the opening. Mm-hmm. So essentially what happens, and it depends with how many players there are, and you can read that in the rules. But essentially, let's say you're playing with the max player level, which is 10, which is recommended. The more people you can get to play, the better this game will be for sure. Mm-hmm. So essentially what happens here is at the beginning, if you were to have 10 players playing, you would take 7 waffle cards and 3 Mind Flayer cards, and you would shuffle them all together. You would pass them out secretly, like you do, face down to every single person at the table. Now, once all the cards are passed out, the 10 cards, the 7 waffles, and the 3 Mind Flayer cards, you then all secretly look at your cards, put them down, everybody closes their eyes, and on the count of 3, the 3 Mind Flayers who were picked in the beginning, who are now possessed for the rest of the game, there is no getting out of it for that round. They all open their eyes and they look at one another to know who their teammates are. Mm-hmm. And essentially, you now become 2 different teams. There's the sane team and the possessed team. And the goal of the game is for the sane players to stay sane, mm-hmm. and for the possessed players to possess everybody at the table. And essentially, the possessed players only win if they turn absolutely everybody at the table within 1 round. You can play multiple rounds. I would say a round lasts maybe 20 minutes. It goes pretty quick, especially once you know how to play. Yeah. So then after that, you keep that card in your hand, and you are dealt 3 additional cards. And essentially, you then have the hard hit cards, which is to knock someone out. You have the helping hand card, which eliminates the hard hit. Mm-hmm. It X's it out, cancels it out. Mm-hmm. So if you are holding, and if you're holding 3 hard hits, you get knocked out. You have your player tile. You can pick from all these different characters. You have Jonathan, Dustin, Lucas, Billy, Max, Mike, Steve, Will, Nancy, and 11. Mm-hmm. And your character is right side up when you're in play. If you do get knocked out, if you receive 3 hard hit cards without receiving any helping hand cards, then you are knocked out and you are out of that round. So each person goes around the table and they each draw 1 card in a circle until you get, and they are separated into 3 different piles. And at the bottom of each pile is a meeting card. And so you can pick from any one of these 3 stacks. You pick a card, you flip it over. It's one of these 5 cards that I had mentioned, the helping hand, whatever. And it is your job as the person who flips it over to hand it out to anybody who's sitting there, whether it's a Mind Flayer card, a memory card, or whatever. And everyone at the table is trying to either talk you into giving it to them or giving it to other people. And you know, the aim in the game is essentially to not only get people to do what you want, but also if you're a Mind Flayer or you know, a possessed person, you're allowed to lie as much as you want. Right? And the possessed people, you don't know, essentially you don't know who's on your team and who isn't. And no one ever does until the round is over. Until every card has been played, you are sitting there the entire time with the person to your left, the person to your right, all around you. You're just like, are you possessed?
It's
and
hard.
You really just do not know throughout.
You don't. And it's like you can be as honest as possible, but when you have other possessed people at the table, like they just sow seeds of doubt among everybody. So you're really constantly questioning who's on what team. And when you get to the end of one of the stacks of cards to the meeting cards have little specific events, you know, that happen. So you read those, you do whatever the meeting is on the card, and then the actual meeting, each person gives a card to the player on their right and left. So that's another way that the possessed people can turn the sane, is by handing them Mind Flayer cards, so that it starts stacking up in their hand.
And Dad, if you're listening and you're watching this video, just to clear this up once again, you can only give Mind Flayer cards in the meetings if you are possessed.
Yes. You are not allowed to give those out if you're sane.
No.
You can give any of the other cards. You can give hard hits, helping hands, memories, waffles, but not the Mind Flayer cards. But if you're a Mind Flayer, you can choose to give those out. You don't have to. Which is a very smart tactic that people, the last game that we played with a lot of people, that was being employed where, you know, they were really sneaky and handing out waffle cards to people on their right and left so that the people next to them didn't become suspicious of them. And it worked. So it's a really fun, like, strategy game. It's really fun to play with friends and family.
Yeah.
You know, because, like, it just gets everybody really active and involved, and you're accusing each other, and you're laughing about it.
There was a lot of laughing going on at the table. Yes. There was a lot of accusations thrown. You know, I was playing with like 8 other people, and I accused every single one of them of being a Mind Flayer every single round.
It was just like,
I was just like, whatever, like Mind Flayer,
Mind Flayer would say, yeah.
And it's just so funny, because weirdly, like, in all the games we've played, I think maybe 1 out of like the almost 10 games I've played now, I think I've only ever been a Mind Flayer from the get once. I've almost always been sane. Too.
Yeah.
So, but I will tell you, one of the most fun moments in the game, and it does make you feel very uncomfortable, is when you're trying to figure out who everyone is at the table, and you're like pretty sure about this person, you're like kind of questioning this person, you think you're 100% about this person, you're not 100%. I'm going to tell you that right now. Every time you're going to think you're 100%, like, oh no, that person 100% isn't, or that person 100% is. Don't. No. Because you could be wrong. Trust me.
You absolutely.
But there is sometimes where you think like, oh, I think I'm good on my right and my left. Because when the meetings happen, someone from your right and from your left, hand out cards to you. And when you get them, you have to shuffle them under the table. This is very specific because you're not supposed to know who handed you the cards. Yeah. If you took their card and looked at it and took their card, and Mind Flayers only can pass out Mind Flayer cards, then you'd be like, oh, well, this person's a Mind Flayer. I just got it. Because you can tell anyone at the table anything you want.
Yeah.
Right? When you get your cards, you can flip them up and you can be like, I got a Mind Flayer card. oh my God, that means one of them. But you can lie.
100%.
And you can be like, and you can lie because the person on your right might be sane, as well as the person on your left. Sure. So then the person that's on your left is sane, and they're like, oh, I know I'm not. And he's saying he got a Mind Flayer card, so it's gotta be his person on his right because he only got 2 cards. Yeah. But you're the Mind Flayer the whole time, lying. So then this person is now out on this person, and so when they get these certain cards and they have to divvy them out, they're like convinced that person next to you is a Mind Flayer, and they're not. So then they, they won't help them, and then this makes them play into your hands, and then they don't give them memory cards, which memory cards cancel out Mind Flayer cards. And once you become a Mind Flayer, once you get 3 cards without a cancel, or if you get 5 cards or whatever, and you don't have 3 memories to cancel them out, whatever, you are a Mind Flayer for the rest. You cannot come back, no matter how many cards you give away, Dad. You can't become unpossessed in the round. Once you become possessed, you are possessed. Period.
Yes.
Dad. Anyway. And but yeah, it's just my favorite part was like getting the cards, the 2 cards from my right and my left, shuffling them under the table, looking at them, and seeing one was a waffle or whatever, and the other was a Mind Flayer, and I was like,
you
get so uncomfortable. You're like, oh no. And I feel like the dude, that's tied to the chair in the thing.
100%.
When he's like, get me out of this chair, because
you're like,
someone next to you is a damn thing.
100%.
And that's the way it felt. So it's just you have your cute little daughter to your right, and then you have like your brother to your left, and you get the one, and you're like, I don't trust either of y'all now.
Yes.
And you get this very, like, even though it's fun and it's playful, you do get this sense of, like, cabin fever.
It triggers,
or whatever. You're just like,
fight or flight.
You're like, I don't like it. I don't like it. You over there.
Yeah.
You over there. I know you're lying to me.
Yeah.
And you really start to, like, try to read people's faces and their expressions, and you're like, I was like, brother. I was looking at my brother Nathan, and I was just like, look at me and tell me you're not a Mind Flayer. And I was like looking into his soul, and I was like, just tell me.
That's what the girls.
And he was like,
he's
like, I'm not a Mind Flayer. And I was like really studying his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, I think I believe him. He was a Mind Flayer the whole time.
He was the one that really, he metagamed hard, but like the girls were doing that to me too. Like when you have a 9-year-old that's like, you promise that you're not a Mind Flayer and that you wouldn't. And like the funny thing is that I would be truthful and I'd be like 100% I'm not a Mind Flayer. And then literally like the next meeting or something, I would be turned and then I would be evil. And so then I'm trying to, you can't tell and you want to turn everybody else. So there's so much happening and it's a lot of fun. And at the end of the 3 rounds, everybody who is a sane person, whether or not they got knocked out.
She needs to retract that. At the end of the 3 meetings.
The 3
because that's within the round. That is one round.
Yeah.
So just clarification.
Sorry, at the end of that round, after the 3 meetings, everybody that is sane, whether or not you're knocked out or not, stands up from the table and claps. And everybody that has been possessed and is a Mind Flayer growls. And that was really fun too.
That's a super fun moment.
Because that's when everybody gets revealed.
You're like waiting and you can always tell though. There's a little trick. You can always tell, for the most part, anybody who's still sane, as soon as we're about to do the countdown, they move their chair back.
100%, yeah.
Because they know they're going to need to stand up. Yeah. So if you watch everyone close enough, you can already tell who's going to stand up and is going to announce themselves as sane. And then after that, everyone laughs and you start to asking everybody, because at that point it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. And you can be like, what happened? I thought you were sane. Like, what happened? And they're like, I was turned from the beginning. My friend Lori did that. She got 4 Mind Flayer cards right out the gate. So funny. And she was just like, I was the OG Mind Flayer. And she was lying the entire time. And I think it was your mom. No, wait, someone played us hard because they were doing the whole, I think it was your mom who was doing the whole like, I don't think I understand the rules.
Yes.
And like saying all this, and it was like total bullshit.
Yeah, that's
total
like
bullshit.
a tactic for new players to do 100%.
So,
it's so
do
much
we recommend
fun.
it? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Super fun. But as I said, had I bought it and only played it with 4 players, and then I would have reviewed it, I would have given you a really, really negative review. And I would have been like, this is garbage. This was thrown together in 2 seconds. But, man, it's honestly one of the more fun games we've played. We played this and Friday the 13th, Horror at Camp Crystal Lake, which we did review on here as well. And we had a good time with both. Horror Camp Crystal Lake is very cool. I do highly recommend it if you get your hands on it. But this one's more fun. This is a party game.
Yeah, 1,000%.
For sure. This is a great game to have with friends where you don't have to explain a bunch of rules.
Yeah.
It's really simplistic. It's fast to play. Everyone's laughing their ass off.
Really
Everyone's lying to each other. Amazing social game. Right? It's an apples to apples. It's something like that where it's just everyone's having a good time. Everyone's laughing. No one's overthinking anything. There's no complicated this and that. You have to roll and you have to collect money and you have to do math and you have to how many resources. It's nothing like that.
No.
It's a very simplistic card game. It is about $25 at Walmart currently. It's the only place I've seen it. I had to order it offline, but it is now in stores. And high recommendation for a party game for fans of Stranger Things or not. If even just announce it to your friends, and you can even bring it up and be like, "Hey guys, I got a thing board game. I got a thing board game or a card game thing." I covered the S too.
Thing,
I got a thing card game because it plays like a thing card game. And you could sell it as that, or you could even do that for friends that are like, "Oh, I'm not really into Stranger Things." Be like, "Well, are you into the thing?" And they're like, "Hell yeah," because anybody who's anybody, any friends you want to have are into the thing. You can be like, "Well, it's basically like a thing card game."
Yeah.
And it's fun as hell. It's fun as hell as long as you have a lot of people and you know how to play it. But with 4 people, I don't know. I'd have to play it with 4 people now.
Maybe we'll try it. I'm sure
because it only goes down to like 1 Mind Flayer to start with 4 people.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. We'll play it with our daughters here.
Yeah, and we'll see.
And see if 4 works once you've played it a bunch. But I know for sure 10 is the best.
Yeah.
We never played it with 10.
We played it with 9.
We've played it with 9 as high as we got, but 1 more person would have been great.
Yeah.
Right?
But even 6, it's fun. The more people you have, the better it is, for sure.
The more better.
The more better, the more funner it is.
Yeah, so thumbs up, big time, from us. And this is coming from people who did not like it at first. But once you get it, and you got the right amount of people, kick-ass, super fun game.
Yeah.
So good on them for actually making a really cool game. So definitely pick it up. All right, guys. Let us know if you play it. Bye.
Bye.